Hello, this is Diana, attorney, and it's my pleasure to work with you today. And we're going to keep working on the transition for your farm, ranch, or forestry enterprise by looking at key team members that are going to be involved in the transition. And so as we do that, I want to help you evaluate and get the folks that you need to really help move this forward. So let's talk. First of all, exit planning is an equation. There's a balance. And you know that when an equation is in balance, you end up with the required goal. You know what the end result is, and that's what you want. You're going to have people that help you explore and plan and look at the things you might want to do based on facts that are unique to your business and your goals at the end of it to help you really achieve those. Who's on the team? Well, we'll help you look at who might be on that team, and you can best decide who needs to come alongside and help you. The goal here is you want to pass on key information, not only to the people that are working with you, but your heirs and others that are involved in this. And there are going to be strategies that you can use to pass on this information to others. The inputs, in other words, you're going to need help gathering information. And I find that most people can't do this on their own and keep up with everything they have to do day to day. And that's where they rely on team members. Your net worth, well, we worked on that exercise in the Dare to Dream in our last lesson. I hope that you begin working on that. You may not have it fully dialed in, but you can get pretty close. And then your transition team members can help you get there. Because depending on the overall value that you're worth, you might choose to make different steps. There will be financial, operational, as well as considerations regarding living arrangements. Maybe you can't get up and down the stairs anymore, or you need the doors widened, or you anticipate something that tends to be a health consideration for people in your family. This is something that can be taken care of. There will also be the timing. Depending on how quickly you want to move through this process, you might need more team members or less team members. It's totally up to you. And if your intent is to do some gifting, to take care of others, or reduce the overall value of your estate, again, reasons to get started right away. You also will want to know and take into consideration what your heirs or key employees, as well as neighbors or those in the community, will be impacted by this transition that you're considering. Because at some point, all of us move on to something else and have a new chapter. The specifics, well, they're unique to you. And the pictures you see before you, this might be your operation, or none of these might apply, or all of them, and even more. Whatever the case, helping others understand your specifics means they can help you. The way to get started, Walt Disney said it best. The way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. And so that's what we're continuing on. We want you to consider using a calendar. A calendar is a great tool to record what you did. And over time, it can show a pattern so people are very clear on what needs to be done and when. And if you start recording what you do daily, you're going to be surprised how much you do. It's just been something you do because over the years, it's become second nature. Help others with that information. And a team of experienced people that have experience in agricultural transitions. Now that's who you want. Imagine getting an accountant that really understands what you're trying to accomplish. Perhaps in this example, you would like to reduce the overall value of your estate to avoid estate taxes. Well, they might help you understand the time to do some of this is with gifting. And if you were to gift in January, let's say when the livestock is born, they're at their lowest value. Whereas if you gift in the fall or the following spring, wow, they're at their peak because they're at their highest value. Obviously, an ag accountant is going to give you a recommendation in that case to begin gifting in January. That's where it's invaluable, and that's why you're going to want to explore that background. Not just the person who's been great and helped you with your taxes over all these years, but they have actually worked on transitions and they know agriculture. An appraiser is likely going to be in your picture as well. On your team, they can help you evaluate the different assets that you have and make sure you clearly understand what they look like. And that helps you arrive at numbers and steps that you need to take. Having an attorney that can help you along the way, again, is yet another great thing. The attorney will help you draw up the documents, but they need the information and they need to understand what you want. If they're an agricultural attorney, again, they're going to look at your property through a different lens than just a great business attorney. The next one may be a surprise, a doctor or a psychologist. You may ask why. Well, some of you are considering making changes and you want to ensure that really you tend to litigation proof your estate plan. And that's where a psychologist and doctor can maintain that you were of sound mind when you made the decisions that you made. And it can be very helpful for everyone. A facilitator could also be another individual on your team if you want to get things done quickly or get this done in a timely fashion. That could always be it. Or if there's sticky issues, they also can help with any one of these. A farm and ranch manager is another one that I have seen brought into the transition team because you can't keep up with everything, or you're physically starting to not be able to do what you used to do. And this transition takes time. They can be an integral person in making that possible. Also, your family or heirs being involved helps them understand what the considerations were, and they might want to weigh in. An example would be, I had a farmer that wanted to transition, but his kids had dogs, and he felt very strongly about dogs in the house. And so that meant that they ended up needing a second home as part of this transition to work because they couldn't just all live together. It just wouldn't work. You might also, and I do recommend this one, a financial advisor. What are you going to do? What do you need with the financial resources that you have to make your next chapter work, to help with the viability of your farm, ranch, or forestry operation, and also to make sure that you understand what's really going to be done with the money you have. There are ups and downs. We can only estimate, but we've seen a lot of shifts in the market, and that can have quite a bearing on what your future looks like. We want you to have what you need in your next chapter, and also see your farm and ranch continue to be a vital and viable operation. An ag-related insurance agent knows a lot of the concerns and protections that we need to be safe. And so that's where they come into play. Your loan officer or banker, invaluable. They can give you recommendations on what you should do and be aware of as you transition. Imagine that line of credit. I'm willing to bet if you transition your property to an heir before you pass, you do not want to be encumbered by that. Well, that's something you need to talk to your banker about and what's going to be required. How about a real estate agent? Even if you're not considering selling, a real estate agent that knows agricultural properties can look and advise you based on what they see and what they know to help you achieve your goals. And the trustee, while not the only one you might consider, sometimes they're involved because you know you need help, you're concerned about someone's ability to handle money, or other protections that you want in place. And so a trustee can be very helpful in that regard. So identifying the core team is very important now that you're ready to get going, and you need to choose wisely. So we have a tool that we've prepared, and we'll go over it. It'll just take a few minutes after this presentation to help you evaluate the credentials of the professionals that you believe you need from the list I'm giving you and others you would want to add. You want to be clear on the commitment of these people and when they're going to do it and for how much. And that's usually included in an engagement letter and or a contract that says what they will expect for their services. They might even ask for a retainer, and that would be outlined. If there are any details or deadlines, those would be explained as well in those documents. Having experience in serving people just like you is invaluable, and don't be afraid to shop. In fact, take notes, and I have forms that will help you take down some notes and ask questions, and certainly you can add more to it. If you fail to take notes, you're like most of us. Everything starts kind of being mushed together and you can't quite remember everyone that you talked to and what they said. This way it's very clear. Please check references. While people are experienced in their area, you and I both know sometimes people don't have all of the information doesn't quite match what they've told you. So ask how they worked with other people, not just the neighbor or two that gave you a referral. And be prepared to be very candid about your expectations when you work with people. You want to be clear on how you will meet. Will it be in person? Will they be individual team meetings that you meet with them or in a group? Who's going to lead this team when you meet? Is it you or someone else is going to be tasked with that? And if they are going to be meetings, will they be held virtually, like Zoom or one of the other services, Google Meets or Skype, or a combination of in-person meetings and not? Be sure that everyone has the technology that's necessary to make this work. And I do recommend virtual meetings because many times the members on your core team are not all here and can't easily come to in-person meetings. Imagine the family member that lives a few states away. They can't just come all the time. This will enable them to participate and not have to worry about airfares, or they can only come once every 2 or 3 years. You can keep everything on track, and by doing a combination, you can make sure everyone is updated. So you will need a good internet connection and a computer that makes it possible. But this is highly recommended. There will be a lot of emails and correspondence back and forth, and a good computer is helpful along the way. So where do you find providers? Well, the soil and water conservation districts can make recommendations along with NRCS. That's the National Resource Conservation Service. Many times they're in the same building or located very closely together. So you can let them know you're considering a transition and ask for recommendations. And your lender may have recommendations. They can't say who you should use. They can just give you names so you can begin the research and identify the right person. So aside from your lender, you could also consider associations like Farm Bureau, Oregon Nurserymen Associations, and others. Certainly checking with neighbors is a good idea. And ask a question. What would you do differently? And what are you glad that you did as part of your transition and the documents you put in place? That gives you some ideas to visit with the people working with you. And of course, many of these providers work with each other, like attorneys work with accountants and appraisers. They can also be a resource for other people to work with once you identify who you'd like to work with. They can help give you others. The soil and water contact information is right here to help you get started in this process. But most of all, we hope that you'll get going on this and review the tool that we have coming up next that we'll go through in a segment to just briefly review it. Feel free to print off many of these pages because, again, you want to record the information and then highlight the one that you chose to work with and the decision you had in choosing them. Thank you for your time, and I am really proud of you continuing this process. Thank you.